Tonight, we're going to journey to a place just 250 miles above your head. A place where humans have lived continuously for over 25 years. We're going to explore the International Space Station, not just as a collection of modules and solar panels, but as a home, a laboratory, and one of humanity's most remarkable achievements. By the end of this journey, you'll understand what it truly means to live and work in orbit, floating through the vacuum of space at 17,500 miles per hour. Before we begin this exploration, if you enjoy these deep dives into space and science, a quick like or subscribe would really help the channel grow. Now let's lift off on our journey to humanity's outpost among the stars. A laboratory above the world. Right now, hundreds of miles above Earth's surface, a brilliant point of light is tracing an arc across the sky. If you're in the right place at the right time, you can see it with your naked eye. A blue-white beacon moving steadily against the backdrop of stars. That's not a star or a planet. That's the International Space Station, the largest single structure humans have ever assembled in space, traveling at speeds that would let it circle Earth's equator in about 90 minutes. The ISS measures approximately 356 feet from end to end along its truss structure, roughly the length of an American football field, including the end zones. The pressurized modules stretch 218 feet along the major axis, creating a habitable volume of about 1,000 cubic meters, comparable to the interior of a large commercial airliner. The entire structure masses approximately 410,000 kilograms, or about 900,000 pounds. 8 massive solar array wings spread outward, like the petals of a metallic flower, generating between 84 and 120 kilowatts of average power as the station cycles between sunlight and Earth's shadow, enough to keep the station's systems running and its crew alive. Inside that structure, typically 7 people from different nations live and work together. They conduct scientific experiments, maintain the station's systems, exercise to counteract the effects of weightlessness, and occasionally venture outside in spacesuits to perform repairs or install new equipment. They represent humanity's continuous presence in space, a streak that began on November 2nd, 2000, and continues to this day. That's over 25 years without a single moment when Earth orbit was empty of human beings. The station orbits at an altitude of approximately 250 miles, or 400 kilometers. That might not sound very far when you consider that you can drive 250 miles in a few hours on Earth, but the relatively modest altitude places the station in what's called low Earth orbit, just high enough to avoid most atmospheric drag while still being close enough for relatively easy access from the ground. The orbital path is inclined 51.6 degrees to Earth's equator, meaning the station passes over most of the planet's populated regions, covering about 90% of humanity during each orbit. Every 90 minutes, the ISS completes one circuit around Earth. The crew experiences 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets each day. When the station passes from darkness into sunlight, the transition is breathtakingly abrupt. One moment, darkness. The next, brilliant light flooding through the windows. When passing into Earth's shadow, stars suddenly become visible, thousands of them blazing against the black backdrop of space. The crew's circadian rhythms evolved over millions of years to follow a 24-hour day-night cycle, must adapt to this strange new reality. The view from the station's windows is consistently described as the most spectacular sight anyone can witness. Earth fills the view below, a sphere of swirling white clouds, deep blue oceans, and brown and green continents. The atmosphere appears as a thin blue line along the horizon, a fragile shell separating the abundance of life below from the vacuum of space above. The terminator, the line separating day from night, slowly sweeps across the planet's surface. City lights sparkle in the darkness. Lightning storms flash silently in the clouds. Auroras shimmer in curtains of green and red near the poles. Astronauts speak of the overview effect, a cognitive shift in awareness reported by some astronauts when viewing Earth from space. Seeing our planet as a whole, without borders or divisions, floating in the vast darkness of space, fundamentally changes how one thinks about humanity's place in the universe. National conflicts seem petty and arbitrary from that vantage point. The notion that all of humanity, every person who has ever lived, shares this single fragile world becomes viscerally real. The ISS represents one of the most complex and expensive engineering projects ever undertaken. The total cost through its construction phase was approximately $150 billion, making it the most expensive single item ever built. Construction required more than 40 assembly missions between 1998 and 2011, primarily using American space shuttles and Russian Proton and Soyuz rockets. Astronauts and cosmonauts performed hundreds of spacewalks, totaling over 1,500 hours of work in the vacuum of space to connect modules, string cables, install equipment, and gradually assemble the massive structure piece by piece. The station functions as humanity's primary orbital research laboratory. More than 4,000 investigations have been conducted aboard the ISS since 2000, generating over 4,400 peer-reviewed scientific publications. Research spans fields including materials science, biotechnology, astronomy, astrophysics, Earth observation, combustion science, fluid physics, and human physiology. The microgravity environment enables experiments impossible to conduct on Earth. Proteins crystallize with more perfect structures. Flames burn in unusual spherical shapes. Fluids behave in ways that challenge our understanding of physics. But the ISS is more than a laboratory. It's a proving ground for technologies and procedures needed for future deep space exploration. Everything we learn about keeping humans alive and healthy in space for months at a time directly informs plans for missions to the Moon and Mars. Life support systems, exercise protocols, psychological factors, radiation exposure, medical capabilities, food systems, communication strategies, all are tested and refined on the station. When astronauts eventually travel to Mars, a journey that will take years and prevent quick returns to Earth, the lessons learned on the ISS will be essential to their survival. The station also serves diplomatic and educational purposes. It stands as a monument to international cooperation, bringing together nations that were once Cold War adversaries in a shared peaceful endeavor. 5 space agencies collaborate to operate the station: NASA from the United States, Roscosmos from Russia, the European Space Agency, representing 11 member states, JAXA from Japan, and the Canadian Space Agency. Despite tensions and conflicts on Earth, the partnership has remained remarkably stable. Even during periods of strained relations between Russia and the West, cosmonauts and astronauts continue working side by side aboard the ISS. The station inspires and educates. Astronauts regularly communicate with schools and the public, conducting demonstrations, answering questions, and sharing the experience of spaceflight. Millions of students around the world have participated in educational programs connected to ISS research. The sight of the station passing overhead, visible to anyone who knows when and where to look, serves as a tangible reminder that humans are out there living and working among the stars. The dream takes shape, history, and construction. The story of the International Space Station begins decades before the first module reached orbit. The dream of a permanent human presence in space has roots extending back to the very beginning of the space age. In January 1984, President Ronald Reagan directed NASA in his State of the Union address to develop an Earth-orbiting space station within 10 years. The proposed station, eventually named Freedom, would be an American facility with international partners contributing modules and equipment. The concept went through numerous redesigns throughout the 1980s and early 1990s. Escalating costs and technical challenges threatened the project multiple times. Congress questioned whether the benefits justified the expense. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union had been operating space stations since the early 1970s. The Salyut series demonstrated that humans could live in orbit for extended periods. The Mir station, launched in 1986, showed that a modular design allowed for incremental assembly and expansion in orbit. Soviet cosmonauts set endurance records, spending months aboard Mir and accumulating invaluable experience with long-duration space flight. The end of the Cold War in the early 1990s created new opportunities for cooperation. The collapse of the Soviet Union left Russia with space expertise and hardware, but limited funding. The United States had ambitious plans, but recognized the value of Russian experience with long-duration missions and space station operations. In 1993, Vice President Al Gore and Russian Prime Minister Viktor Chernomyrdin announced that Space Station Freedom and Russia's Mir 2 project would be combined into a single international venture. This merger fundamentally transformed the program. The new station would be truly international, with Russia as a full partner alongside the United States, Europe, Japan, and Canada. Russian modules designed for Mir 2 would become integral components. The partnership offered practical advantages beyond cost sharing. Russian launch vehicles and Soyuz spacecraft would provide crew transport and serve as lifeboats. Russian docking systems and life support technology would be incorporated. Most importantly, Russia's extensive experience operating Mir would inform the new station's design and operations. The International Space Station program was formally established in 1998 with the signing of the Space Station Intergovernmental Agreement. This document set forth the framework for collaboration among the partner nations, defining responsibilities, cost sharing, and crew time allocation. Additional agreements governed specific aspects like jurisdictional issues and codes of conduct. Brazil was initially involved, but withdrew in 2007 due to funding constraints and inability to deliver promised hardware. Construction began on November 20, 1998, when Russia launched Zarya, the functional cargo block atop a Proton rocket from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. Zarya, whose name means sunrise in Russian, was designed and built by the Khrunichev Space Center in Moscow. The module would initially provide power, storage, propulsion, and guidance for the nascent station. It measured roughly 12.6 meters long and 4.1 meters in diameter, with a mass of about 19,300 kilograms. Solar arrays deployed after reaching orbit providing electrical power. The module was built under contract to the United States and is American property, though Russian manufactured. 2 weeks later, on December 4th, 1998, Space Shuttle Endeavour launched from Kennedy Space Center, carrying Unity, the first American component. Unity, officially known as Node 1, is a connecting module featuring 6 common berthing mechanism ports for attaching additional modules. Made of steel and measuring 4.57 meters in diameter and 5.47 meters in length, Unity was constructed by Boeing at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. On December 6th, astronauts used Endeavour's robotic arm to capture Zarya and made it to Unity. Over several spacewalks, they connected cables and installed hardware, joining the first 2 pieces of the station. After Endeavour departed, the 2-module core remained, unpressurized and uncrewed for over a year and a half. The structure slowly orbited Earth, awaiting the next construction mission. On July 12, 2000, Russia launched Zvezda, the service module, also on a Proton rocket. Zvezda, meaning star, became the early heart of the Russian orbital segment, providing life support, living quarters, and flight control systems. The module was originally built in 1985 for the Mir 2 program and was refurbished and upgraded for ISS. Zvezda docked automatically to Zarya on July 26, 2000. With Zvezda attached, the station could finally support a permanent crew. On October 31, 2000, a Soyuz spacecraft launched from Baikonur carrying the Expedition 1 crew, American commander William Shepard, and Russian flight engineers Sergei Krikalev and Yuri Gidzenko. They arrived at the station on November 2, 2000, opened the hatches, floated inside, and began the work of activating systems and preparing for long-duration habitation. That date marks the beginning of continuous human presence in space, a streak that has now lasted more than 25 years and continues without interruption. Assembly proceeded gradually over the following years. Space shuttle missions delivered modules, truss segments, solar arrays, and equipment. Each flight added another piece to the growing structure. In February 2001, Shuttle Atlantis brought Destiny, the United States laboratory module, providing the primary research facility for American experiments. Destiny was constructed by Boeing and measures 8.5 meters long and 4.3 meters in diameter. The module houses research racks containing experiments in biology, physics, materials science, and Earth observation. In April 2001, Canadarm2, a sophisticated robotic arm, was installed. Built by MDA Space Missions for the Canadian Space Agency, Canadarm2 measures 17.6 meters long and can move along the station's truss structure on a mobile base. The arm is essential for station assembly, maintenance, and capturing visiting spacecraft. It can manipulate massive objects with precision, grappling modules weighing tens of thousands of kilograms and positioning them for attachment. The Quest joint airlock was added in July 2001, providing a chamber for spacewalks, using either American or Russian spacesuits. Prior to Quest, spacewalks from the American segment had to be conducted from the Space Shuttle's airlock, limiting flexibility. Quest enabled independent American spacewalk operations from the station itself. Tragedy struck on February 1, 2003, when Space Shuttle Columbia broke apart during re-entry, killing all 7 crew members. The disaster grounded the shuttle fleet for over 2 years, while the accident was investigated and safety improvements implemented. ISS assembly was suspended. The crew size was reduced from 3 to 2 to match the capacity of the Soyuz lifeboats. Resupply became more difficult, relying primarily on Russian Progress cargo ships. The station operated in a caretaker mode, with limited science and maintenance focused on keeping systems running. Shuttle flights resumed in July 2005 with mission STS-114, which tested new safety procedures and delivered supplies to the station. Assembly resumed in 2006. Over the following years, additional truss segments, solar arrays, modules, and equipment were delivered and installed. European and Japanese modules joined the station. The European Columbus Laboratory arrived in February 2008, providing research facilities for ESA experiments. Japan's Kibo Laboratory module, the largest single module on the station, was delivered in multiple pieces between March 2008 and July 2009. Kibo includes a pressurized module, an exposed facility for experiments in the vacuum of space, and a robotic arm. The final major American component, the Tranquility module, arrived in February 2010. Tranquility, also known as Node 3, provides additional life support systems and houses the cupola, a 7-window observatory that offers panoramic views of Earth and space. The cupola has become one of the most iconic features of the station, providing spectacular photography and serving as a workstation for robotic operations. Russian components continued arriving as well. The Rassvet module was delivered by Space Shuttle Atlantis in May 2010. The Nauka multipurpose laboratory module finally launched in July 2021 after years of delays, providing new crew quarters, life support equipment, and a galley. The Prichal nodal module arrived in November 2021, offering additional docking ports for Russian spacecraft. The final space shuttle mission to ISS, STS-135, departed in July 2011, marking the end of the shuttle program. The station was largely complete, though smaller additions and upgrades have continued. The Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, a particle physics experiment searching for dark matter and antimatter, was installed during the final shuttle flight. The Bigelow Expandable Activity Module, a technology demonstration of inflatable habitat technology, was attached in 2016 and has proven successful enough to remain permanently installed. New rollout solar arrays have been added recently to augment the aging original arrays. As of 2026, the station consists of approximately 42 major components, including 16 pressurized modules and multiple external elements like solar arrays, radiators, and truss segments. The assembly took 13 years of nearly continuous construction flights, involving 5 space agencies, contractors from 15 nations, and hundreds of thousands of engineers, technicians, and support personnel. A city in the sky, physical structure and modules. Understanding the ISS requires understanding its architecture. The station is not a single unified structure, but a collection of interconnected modules and external elements assembled in orbit. The pressurized habitable volume is divided into 2 main sections, the Russian orbital segment and the US orbital segment. These segments, while interconnected and interdependent, maintain some operational independence. The Russian orbital segment, located primarily at one end of the station, consists of several modules. Zarya, though American-owned, serves as the connection point between the Russian and American segments. Zvezda provides the core of Russian operations, housing flight control computers, life support systems, crew quarters, and a galley. The module features 2 docking ports for Soyuz cruise ships and Progress cargo vehicles. Inside Zvezda, cosmonauts have private sleeping quarters, a toilet and hygiene facilities, a galley with a refrigerator and food warmer, and exercise equipment. The Rassvet module, attached to Zarya's nadir, Earth-facing port, provides additional storage and a docking port. The Poisk module, attached to Zvezda's Zenith space-facing port, serves as an airlock for Russian spacewalks and offers additional docking capability and storage space. The Nauka module, docked to Zvezda's port, where Pirs previously attached, provides new capabilities, including crew quarters, oxygen generation, and water recycling systems, and another airlock. The Prichal nodal module, attached to Nauka, offers 5 docking ports for Russian spacecraft, enhancing the segment's capacity to accommodate visiting vehicles. Russian modules use standardized racks and equipment layouts developed during the Mir program. Hardware is launched with the module and permanently installed, making it difficult or impossible to replace major components. This has led to some challenges. Zvezda's original computers no longer function, replaced by 3 ThinkPad laptops serving as the central command system. The Electron oxygen generators have failed multiple times and cannot be easily replaced, occasionally forcing the crew to use backup oxygen supplies. The U.S. orbital segment, constructed by NASA, ESA, JAXA, and CSA, occupies most of the station's volume and houses most research facilities. Unity, the first American module, serves as the primary connection point. 6 berthing ports allow modules to be attached in forward, aft, port, starboard, zenith, and nadir orientations. Unity connects directly to Zarya on one end and to Destiny on the other. Its remaining ports hold the Quest airlock, the Tranquility module, and pressurized mating adapters for docking spacecraft. Destiny, the United States laboratory module, serves as the primary American research facility. The module contains 24 international standard payload racks, standardized frames that hold experiments and equipment. Researchers on the ground can remotely operate mini experiments housed in these racks. Destiny also hosts some life support equipment, including oxygen generation systems. Large windows provide views of Earth and space, allowing the crew to conduct Earth observations and astronomy. The Quest joint airlock, attached to Unity's starboard port, enables spacewalks using either American extravehicular mobility units or Russian Orlan suits. The airlock consists of 2 compartments. The equipment lock stores spacesuits and tools. The crew lock depressurizes before spacewalks. The design accommodates both American and Russian spacewalk systems, making Quest the first station module designed for truly joint operations. The Harmony module, also known as Node 2, arrived in 2007 and serves as a utility hub and docking port. The module connects Destiny to the European Columbus Laboratory and the Japanese Kibo Laboratory. Additional ports accommodate pressurized mating adapters for docking cargo and crew vehicles. Harmony contains 4 rack locations for experiments and crew equipment. Columbus, the European Space Agency's primary contribution, provides research facilities for European investigators. The module measures 4.5 meters in diameter and 6.7 meters long. It contains 10 rack locations for experiments spanning biology, fluid physics, materials science, and technology demonstrations. The module's exterior features 4 mounting platforms for experiments requiring exposure to space. Columbus has proven highly successful, enabling hundreds of European experiments. The Japanese Kibo Laboratory is the largest single module on the station. Kibo, meaning hope, actually consists of 3 components. The pressurized module measures 4.4 meters in diameter and 11.2 meters long, providing 10 rack locations for experiments. The exposed facility is an external platform for experiments in the vacuum of space, serviced by a dedicated Japanese robotic arm. The experiment logistics module provides additional storage. Kibo's size and capabilities make it a major contributor to station research capacity. The Tranquility module, also known as Node 3, serves multiple functions. It houses advanced life support systems, including the water recovery system and oxygen generation equipment. The module provides space for exercise equipment and crew hygiene facilities. Most notably, Tranquility hosts the cupola. The cupola is perhaps the most visually striking feature of the ISS. Built by the European Space Agency and provided to NASA in exchange for transport of European payloads, the cupola is a 7-window observatory measuring 2.95 meters in diameter and 1.5 meters high. 6 trapezoidal side windows surround a circular top window 80 centimeters in diameter, the largest window ever flown in space. The windows use advanced technologies to resist micrometeoroid impacts and solar radiation. Shutters protect the windows when not in use. From inside the cupola, astronauts have panoramic views of Earth, celestial objects, and approaching spacecraft. It serves as a workstation for operating the robotic arms and as a breathtaking vantage point for Earth observation and photography. The Permanent Multi-Purpose Module, Leonardo, delivered in 2011, provides additional storage space for equipment, supplies, and scientific hardware. Originally designed as a multi-purpose logistics module, carried in shuttle cargo bays for temporary attachment during resupply missions, Leonardo was modified for permanent installation. The Bigelow Expandable Activity Module, commonly called BEAM, is an experimental inflatable habitat attached to Tranquility's aft port. Launched in a compressed configuration, BEAM was expanded to its full volume after installation in 2016. The module demonstrates inflatable habitat technology that, based on its successful performance, could potentially be used for future space stations or planetary habitats. Originally intended as a 2-year test, BEAM has performed so well that it remains in use for storage and occasional research. Connecting all these pressurized modules is the integrated truss structure, a massive framework extending 356 feet from end to end. The truss provides structural support, mounting points for solar arrays and radiators, and a track for the mobile transporter that carries the Canadarm2 robotic arm. Truss segments are labeled based on their location. S0 is the central segment attached directly to Destiny. Port side segments are labeled P1 through P6, extending to the left. Starboard segments are labeled S1 through S6, extending to the right. The Z1 segment, attached to Unity's Zenith port, serves as an early attachment point and cable routing location. The station's solar arrays are mounted on the truss. Originally, 8 arrays provided power. These photovoltaic module arrays each measure approximately 34 meters long and 12 meters wide. They track the sun as the station orbits, rotating on mechanisms called solar alpha rotary joints. Each array generates roughly 32 kilowatts at beginning of life, totaling about 100 kilowatts for the entire station. However, the arrays have degraded over time, losing efficiency. To address this, new IROSA, International Space Station Rollout Solar Array units have been installed. These rollout arrays deploy over existing arrays, partially shadowing them but generating more power from their more efficient solar cells. Each IROSA generates over 20 kilowatts. 6 iRoses have been installed or are planned, increasing total power generation by about 30% and ensuring sufficient power as the station's systems age. Thermal control is critical in space. The vacuum provides excellent insulation, meaning heat generated by equipment, crew, and sunlight must be actively removed. Massive radiators mounted on the truss dissipate heat into space. Thermal control systems pump ammonia coolant through internal heat exchangers and out to the radiators, where the heat radiates away. The system must carefully balance cooling and heating to maintain comfortable temperatures inside, while preventing equipment from freezing or overheating. Navigating the interior requires adapting to three-dimensional thinking. There's no gravity defining up or down, so the station uses an agreed-upon orientation. Generally, the direction toward Earth is considered down, and the direction away is up, though crew members quickly learn to ignore these conventions and move freely in any orientation. Handrails line the walls, modules, and corridors. Crew members pull themselves along these handrails to move through the station. Velcro and bungee cords secure equipment and personal items to prevent them from floating away. The interior feels surprisingly spacious in some areas and cramped in others. Modules are lined with equipment racks, storage compartments, and hardware, reducing the usable volume. Some modules, like Destiny and Kaibo, feel relatively open. Others, particularly Unity and the Russian modules, can feel crowded. Cables, ducts, and equipment protrude into the living space, but the ability to use all surfaces, not just the floor, means the available volume feels larger than it would in a similarly sized Earth structure. Astronauts routinely move along ceilings and walls with equal ease as the floor. The rhythm of orbit, daily life and routines. Life aboard the International Space Station follows a carefully structured routine. The crew awakens each day at 6:00 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, also known as Coordinated Universal Time, or UTC. The ISS uses this single time zone, even though the station orbits Earth every 90 minutes, passing through all time zones. Using UTC provides a consistent reference for the international crew and ground control teams around the world. The morning begins with a wake-up call from Mission Control. In NASA's early practice, different songs were played for each crew member, chosen by family or friends. The tradition added a personal touch, connecting astronauts to home. After waking, crew members typically spend about an hour on their morning routine. They brush their teeth using toothpaste they can swallow rather than spit out. They shave using electric razors or traditional razors with shaving cream, carefully wiping away cream and stubble with towels to prevent it from floating away. They wash their face and body using wet towels and rinseless soap. There are no showers aboard the ISS. Water is too precious to waste on showers, and containing the water in zero gravity would be extremely difficult. Crew members check their daily schedule, which is planned down to 5-minute increments by operations planners on the ground. They review the daily summary, a document compiled by mission control teams detailing the day's activities, news from Earth, and any special events or messages. They might have a quick conference with ground control to discuss the day's plan. Then they prepare and eat breakfast. Breakfast options include a variety of packaged foods: cereal with dried milk, scrambled eggs, rehydrated, fruit, either freeze-dried or occasionally fresh, if a recent resupply mission delivered it. coffee or tea made by injecting hot water into beverage pouches, orange juice, breakfast burritos made with tortillas. The food is often bland, a side effect of microgravity causing fluids to shift toward the head, creating a sensation similar to a head cold. This congestion affects the sense of taste, making astronauts crave spicier foods. Hot sauce is a prized condiment aboard the station, adding much-needed flavor. After breakfast, the workday begins. A typical day includes about 6.5 hours of scheduled work time, split between morning and afternoon shifts, with an hour for lunch and another hour spread through the day for breaks and preparation. The work varies depending on crew member assignments and mission phase. Some days focus primarily on scientific research. Astronauts set up experiments, collect samples, perform observations, or troubleshoot equipment. They might be working with protein crystal growth experiments, studying plant biology, conducting combustion research, or participating in medical studies, examining how their own bodies adapt to space flight. Other days emphasize maintenance. The station requires constant upkeep. Filters need replacing. Equipment malfunctions and needs repair. Systems require inspection and testing. Inventory needs updating. Cargo ships arrive and must be unloaded, their contents sorted and stored. Trash accumulates and must be bagged and stored for disposal. Computers need software updates. The crew functions as an orbiting maintenance team, ensuring the station remains safe and operational. Some crew members spend significant time on robotics, operating Canadarm2 or the Japanese robotic arm to capture visiting cargo vehicles, move equipment, or support spacewalks. The cupola serves as the primary workstation for robotic operations, its panoramic windows providing excellent views of the workspace. Operating the complex robotic arms requires extensive training and careful coordination with ground teams. Crew members also serve as their own research subjects. Regular medical examinations track how spaceflight affects their bodies. Blood draws, ultrasound scans, cardiovascular tests, bone density measurements, vision checks, cognitive assessments, all contribute to understanding human adaptation to space. Some astronauts participate in specific research studies, examining topics like immune function, muscle atrophy, fluid shifts, or psychological factors. The data from these studies informs planning for future long-duration missions to the Moon and Mars. Communication with Earth occupies significant time. Daily planning conferences with mission control synchronize crew and ground activities. Video conferences with family provide crucial psychological support. Astronauts conduct educational events with schools, speaking to students and demonstrating science experiments. They participate in media interviews, speaking with journalists, and sharing the spaceflight experience with the public. They post photos and updates on social media, connecting with millions of followers. Exercise is mandatory, consuming about 2 hours each day. The microgravity environment causes bone and muscle loss. Without intervention, astronauts would return to Earth significantly weakened, with bones brittle and muscles atrophied. Exercise helps counteract these effects. Each crew member uses 3 pieces of equipment. The Advanced Resistive Exercise Device, or ARED, simulates weightlifting in microgravity. The machine uses vacuum cylinders to provide resistance up to 600 pounds for bar exercises and 150 pounds for cable exercises in Earth gravity. Astronauts strap themselves in and perform squats, deadlifts, bench presses, and other exercises, working their muscles against the resistance. The device sits on a vibration isolation platform to prevent the exercise loads from shaking the entire station. The Treadmill 2, or T2, allows running in place. Because there is no gravity to hold the astronaut to the treadmill, the crew member wears a harness connected to the machine with bungee cords. The cords pull the astronaut down, simulating weight and providing the loading needed to stress bones. Running speeds can reach up to 19 kilometers per hour. Some astronauts run for 30 minutes or more, while others prefer shorter sessions. The cycle ergometer with vibration. Isolation and Stabilization System, or SIVAS, provides cardiovascular exercise. The stationary bicycle uses friction and computer control to provide resistance. Astronauts pedal for aerobic conditioning, monitoring their heart rate and workload on a display screen. The machine is also used for fitness assessments, measuring oxygen uptake and aerobic capacity. Despite 2 hours of daily exercise, some astronauts still experience significant bone and muscle loss. Research continues to refine exercise protocols, testing higher intensity regimens and different combinations of aerobic and resistance exercise. Pre-flight conditioning also matters. Astronauts who arrive in better physical shape tend to experience less degradation and recover more quickly after returning to Earth. Lunch arrives at midday. The crew gathers in one of the galley areas, either in Zvezda or Unity. Mealtime provides crucial social interaction. Crew members from different nations share food from their respective countries, experiencing each other's cultures. Japanese astronauts bring traditional dishes like ramen and curry. Europeans contribute Italian, French, and German specialties. Americans share favorites like barbecue. Russians provide borscht and other traditional foods. This cultural exchange builds camaraderie and eases homesickness. The afternoon work period mirrors the morning. More research, maintenance, robotics, or preparation for upcoming activities. If a spacewalk is scheduled for the next day, crew members prepare spacesuits, gather tools, and review procedures. If a cargo ship will arrive, they ready the equipment needed for capture and berthing. If experiments need to be packed for return to Earth, they secure samples and hardware. Around 7:30 p.m. UTC, the official workday ends. The crew has about 3.5 hours of personal time before the scheduled sleep period. This time is precious. Astronauts use it in various ways. Some communicate with family through video calls or email. The ability to stay connected to loved ones is crucial for psychological health during long missions. Some read books using electronic readers or occasionally physical books delivered on cargo flights. Some watch movies or TV shows on tablets or laptops. Some play musical instruments that have been brought to the station: guitars, keyboards, flutes. Exercise is an option during personal time. Some astronauts prefer to complete their mandatory exercise during the workday. Others save it for the evening. The flexible schedule accommodates individual preferences. Photography is a popular pastime. The views from the station's windows are endlessly fascinating. Astronauts photograph Earth, capturing cities, storms, mountains, deserts, oceans, and the aurora. They photograph astronomical objects, though the bright Earth limits opportunities for deep space imaging. They photograph the station itself during spacewalks or from departing spacecraft. Many of the stunning images of Earth from space shared widely on social media and in publications, originate from ISS crew members capturing beauty during personal time. Some crew members enjoy simply floating near a window and looking at Earth. The view never becomes mundane. Each orbit brings new scenes. Deserts give way to oceans. Mountains rise from plains. Storms spiral. Rivers snake through continents. The thin blue line of atmosphere glows along the horizon. Astronauts speak of meditative moments, floating in silence, watching their planet turn below. Dinner is served around 8 p.m., though crew members can eat whenever they choose during personal time. Like lunch, dinner is often a social occasion. The crew might share a meal in the Zvezda or Unity modules, trading stories and experiences. Food provides comfort and a sense of normalcy in an otherwise alien environment. Before sleep, crew members prepare for the next day. They review their schedules. They organize equipment and tools. They send messages to ground teams or family. They perform their evening hygiene routine, brushing teeth, washing face, using the toilet. Around 9:30 p.m., they retire to their crew quarters. Each crew member has a private sleeping compartment roughly the size of a phone booth. The space is just large enough to contain a sleeping bag, some personal items, and a laptop. The sleeping bag is attached to the wall to prevent the astronaut from floating around during sleep. Some astronauts wedge themselves into corners for a feeling of security. Others prefer to float freely. Sleeping in microgravity takes adjustment. There is no pressure on joints or muscles, no mattress pushing back against the body. Some astronauts find it incredibly comfortable, like floating on a cloud. Others struggle with the sensation of free fall. The body's vestibular system, which senses motion and orientation, can send confused signals, potentially causing nausea or disorientation. Most adapt within a few days or weeks. The station is never truly quiet. Fans hum constantly, circulating air. Equipment generates white noise. Occasionally, a pump starts or a valve clicks. Crew members use earplugs or noise-canceling headphones to block sounds. The station never grows truly dark either. Indicator lights glow. Equipment panels illuminate. Sunlight streams through windows every 45 minutes as the station passes from night to day. Crew members use sleeping masks or close their compartment curtains. Astronauts are scheduled for 8 hours of sleep, though many report getting less. The combination of noise, light, physical discomfort, and the excitement of being in space can interfere with sleep. Some crew members use sleep aids or adjust their schedules. NASA and other space agencies study sleep patterns aboard the station, looking for ways to improve rest quality. And so the day ends. The crew sleeps while the station continues its endless orbit. Mission control monitors systems from the ground. Experiments run automatically. The solar arrays track the sun. The station maintains its position with occasional thruster firings. Morning comes 6 hours later and the cycle begins again. Weekends exist, though not in the traditional sense. Crew members typically work 5.5 days per week, with Saturday afternoon and Sunday designated as time off for rest and personal activities. Mandatory activities include exercise and basic housekeeping, but most of the day is free. Crew members catch up on messages, relax, enjoy hobbies, and generally decompress from the intense work week. Flexibility is maintained for urgent situations, and some activities, like cargo ship arrivals or critical maintenance, proceed regardless of the calendar. The laboratory, scientific research and experiments. The International Space Station was built primarily to advance scientific knowledge. The microgravity environment provides opportunities impossible to replicate on Earth. Since permanent habitation began in 2000, more than 4,000 investigations have been conducted, spanning virtually every scientific discipline. In biology and life sciences, researchers study how microgravity affects living organisms, from bacteria to humans. Plants grow differently in space, with roots and stems showing altered orientation patterns, since gravity no longer provides directional cues. Understanding these changes could, researchers hope, help develop crops better suited for future space habitats, or lead to improved agricultural techniques on Earth. Protein crystal growth experiments take advantage of microgravity's unique environment. On Earth, gravity creates convection currents that disturb growing crystals, producing flawed structures. In microgravity, crystals grow larger and more uniform. These high-quality crystals enable detailed analysis of protein structures, crucial for drug design. Multiple pharmaceutical companies have sent protein samples to the ISS, using the data to develop improved treatments for diseases including cancer, Parkinson's, and muscular dystrophy. Tissue chips, small devices containing human cells arranged to mimic organ function, have been sent to the station. Researchers observe how microgravity affects these tissue models, providing insights into aging, disease progression, and potential treatments. Studies of immune system aging, cardiovascular changes, and muscle atrophy all benefit from data collected using tissue chips in space. Combustion research reveals how fires behave in microgravity. Without gravity-driven convection, flames burn as spheres rather than teardrop shapes. They can burn longer and at lower temperatures. Understanding these differences improves fire safety for spacecraft, and based on what researchers have learned, could potentially lead to more efficient combustion engines and power plants on Earth. The Combustion Integrated Rack aboard the ISS has conducted hundreds of flame experiments, examining fuel droplet combustion, material flammability, and extinction mechanisms. Fluid physics experiments study bubbles, droplets, and fluid interfaces. In microgravity, surface tension dominates fluid behavior rather than gravity. Researchers observe colloidal suspensions, foams, and emulsions, gaining insights applicable to food production, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and industrial processes. One investigation studied how oils and water behave when mixed in microgravity, potentially leading to better emulsions for products ranging from salad dressing to medications. Materials science benefits from microgravity processing. On Earth, gravity causes denser components in molten metals or mixtures to sink, while lighter components rise, creating non-uniform materials. In space, these convection effects are absent, allowing formation of uniform alloys and other materials. Studies have examined metallic glasses, semiconductor crystals, and composite materials, seeking improved properties for electronics, optics, and structural applications. Rodent research involves sending mice to the station for months-long studies. The mice experience the same bone loss, muscle atrophy, and cardiovascular changes as astronauts. Researchers test potential countermeasures, including exercise, diet modifications, and pharmaceutical interventions. Drugs that prevent bone loss in mice might, if the results translate to humans, prove effective for astronauts and for patients with osteoporosis on Earth. the mice returned to Earth at the end of experiments, providing tissue samples and genetic material for detailed analysis. Microbial experiments examine how bacteria, viruses, and fungi behave in space. Some microorganisms become more virulent in microgravity, potentially posing health risks to crew members. Understanding these changes could, researchers believe, improve infection control both in space and in hospitals on Earth. Other studies investigate extremophiles, organisms that thrive in harsh environments, looking for insights into the limits of life and potential survival strategies for microbes on other worlds. Human research forms a crucial component of ISS science. Every crew member serves as a research subject, participating in studies examining health and performance in space. Vision changes affect many astronauts, with some experiencing swelling of the optic nerve and changes in eye shape. Understanding the mechanism could, scientists hope, prevent these problems on future long-duration missions and might reveal insights into similar conditions on Earth. Cardiovascular studies track changes in heart function, blood pressure regulation, and blood vessel health. The heart doesn't have to work as hard. In microgravity, pumping blood without fighting gravity. This reduced workload could, based on physiological principles, lead to deconditioning. Exercise protocols are tested to determine optimal cardiovascular maintenance strategies. Psychological research examines isolation, confinement, team dynamics, and coping strategies. Future missions to Mars will involve small crews spending months or years together in confined spaces with no possibility of quick return. Understanding how astronauts handle these challenges informs crew selection, training, and support systems. Studies examining sleep patterns, stress levels, group cohesion, and communication effectiveness provide insights that researchers believe will prove essential for planning these deep space missions. Earth observation from the ISS provides unique perspectives on our planet. Astronauts photograph natural disasters, allowing rapid damage assessment. They document urban growth, agricultural patterns, deforestation, and glacier retreat. Multiple cameras and sensors aboard the station monitor weather, climate, ocean health, air quality, and ecosystem changes. The station's orbit covers most of Earth's populated regions, providing regular observations of areas important to human activities. Astronomy benefits from the station's position above Earth's atmosphere, though bright Earth limits deep space observations. The alpha magnetic spectrometer, a particle physics detector mounted externally, searches for antimatter and dark matter by analyzing cosmic rays. Since installation in 2011, it has detected billions of cosmic ray events, including millions of antimatter particles. The data could, if patterns emerge as hoped, reshape understanding of the universe's composition and the nature of dark matter. Technology demonstrations test new systems and concepts for future missions. 3D printing has been demonstrated aboard the ISS, manufacturing spare parts and tools on demand. Robotic systems, including autonomous satellites and repair tools, have been tested. Advanced life support systems that recycle air and water more efficiently have been evaluated. New spacesuit designs and materials are assessed. Each successful demonstration moves humanity closer to deep space exploration. Educational experiments engage students worldwide. Student-designed projects are sent to the ISS, allowing young scientists to participate in real research. Astronauts conduct demonstrations showing how physics, chemistry, and biology operate differently in space. Video conferences with schools inspire the next generation of scientists, engineers, and explorers. Commercial research has grown significantly. Companies pay to send experiments to the station using the microgravity environment for product development and research. Pharmaceutical firms test drug formulations. Manufacturing companies examine industrial processes. Materials companies develop new alloys and composites. The station's designation as a national laboratory in the United States has encouraged private sector participation, expanding research beyond government-funded science. The accumulated knowledge from ISS research touches nearly every aspect of life on Earth. Medical treatments, agricultural techniques, water purification systems, fire safety protocols, weather forecasting, and countless other fields have benefited. The station proves the value of human spaceflight, not just for exploration, but for improving life at home. Breathing, drinking, living. Life support systems. Keeping humans alive in the vacuum of space requires sophisticated systems managing every aspect of the environment. The International Space Station's Environmental Control and Life Support System, or ECLSS, provides breathable air, potable water, comfortable temperatures, and waste management. These systems must function reliably for years with minimal resupply from Earth. Atmospheric control begins with maintaining proper pressure. The ISS maintains an atmosphere at 101.3 kilopascals, or 14.7 pounds per square inch, matching sea level pressure on Earth. This normalization allows physiological comparisons between space experiments and Earth controls and ensures crew comfort. The pressure must be carefully regulated. Loss of pressure would be catastrophic. Systems monitor for leaks constantly. Micrometeoroid impacts occasionally puncture the hull, requiring locating and patching the hole. Pumps and valves maintain pressure within safe limits. The atmosphere's composition must also be controlled. Humans breathe oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. Oxygen is consumed continuously and must be replenished. Carbon dioxide accumulates and must be removed. The station maintains oxygen at roughly 21% by volume, with nitrogen comprising most of the remainder, mimicking Earth's atmosphere. Oxygen generation primarily relies on electrolysis, splitting water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen gases. The oxygen generation system in the American segment uses a proton exchange membrane to electrolyze water. The oxygen is vented into the cabin atmosphere. The hydrogen byproduct can be vented overboard or fed to the carbon dioxide reduction assembly. The Russian segment uses the Electron system, another electrolysis device. Electron has experienced multiple failures over the years, requiring backup systems. Both Russian and American segments can use supplemental oxygen supplies from tanks delivered by cargo ships. In emergencies, solid fuel oxygen generators called Vika cartridges can be burned, releasing oxygen through a chemical reaction. Carbon dioxide removal is critical. At high concentrations, CO2 causes headaches, dizziness, and eventually unconsciousness and death. The station's air revitalization system removes CO2 using molecular sieves, materials with tiny pores that selectively capture gas molecules. Air flows through 4 beds of molecular sieve material, arranged in a rotating cycle. One bed adsorbs CO2, while another is being regenerated by exposing it to the vacuum of space, releasing the captured gas. The beds switch roles continuously, maintaining constant CO2 removal. The system keeps CO2 levels below 0.5%, well within safe limits. Some of the removed CO2 feeds the Sabatier reactor in the carbon dioxide reduction assembly. This device combines CO2 with hydrogen from the oxygen generation system in a chemical reaction producing methane and water. The water is recovered and reused, closing the oxygen loop. The methane is vented overboard. This process recovers roughly 50% of the oxygen in the CO2, significantly reducing the amount of water that must be launched from Earth. Water recovery is essential for long-duration spaceflight. Each crew member requires about 3.5 liters per day for drinking and food preparation. Additional water is needed for hygiene and experiments. Launching water from Earth is expensive and limits mission duration. The water recovery system reclaims water from multiple sources. Humidity condensate forms when moisture from crew breath, and sweat contacts cold surfaces. Condensing heat exchangers remove this moisture from the air. The collected water is processed for reuse. Urine is also processed. The urine processor assembly uses vacuum distillation to extract water from urine, separating it from salts and other waste products. The distilled water is relatively pure, requiring only minor additional treatment. Water from both sources feeds the water processor assembly. Multiple filters remove contaminants. Activated charcoal removes organics. Ion exchange beds remove dissolved salts. A catalytic reactor oxidizes any remaining organic compounds. Sensors monitor water quality, ensuring it meets strict purity standards. Water that fails testing is reprocessed. Acceptable water receives iodine treatment to prevent microbial growth and is stored in tanks for crew use. Recent upgrades have improved water recovery efficiency. The brine processor assembly extracts additional water from the concentrated waste produced by the urine processor. This system uses membrane distillation to recover water that would otherwise be lost. With this addition, the station achieves approximately 98% water recovery, meeting the goal for future deep space missions. Of every 100 pounds of water collected, only 2 pounds are lost as waste. The remaining 98 pounds are recycled and reused. The concept of drinking recycled urine makes some people uncomfortable, but the processed water is exceptionally pure. The multi-stage filtration and treatment produces water cleaner than most municipal water systems on Earth. Crew members report that the water tastes normal, and they quickly stop thinking about its origin. Temperature and humidity control maintain comfort and protect equipment. Without atmospheric convection, hotspots would develop near heat, generating equipment while other areas stay cool. Fans circulate air throughout the station, preventing stratification. Heat exchangers transfer thermal energy from internal air to external radiators. Ammonia coolant flows through these heat exchangers and out to the radiators, where the heat radiates into space. The system must carefully balance heating and cooling. When the station is in sunlight, solar heating can raise temperatures. In Earth's shadow, temperatures can drop. Equipment generates constant heat. Crew metabolism adds warmth. The thermal control system adjusts coolant flow and radiator configuration to maintain comfortable conditions, typically around 21 to 22 degrees Celsius or about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity control prevents excess moisture. In microgravity, water doesn't evaporate and dissipate as quickly as on Earth. High humidity can cause discomfort and promote mold growth. the condensing heat exchangers that remove moisture from the air. For water recovery, also serve to control humidity levels. Fire detection and suppression are critical. Fire in space is dangerous because escape is impossible. Toxic smoke can spread quickly, and fire extinguishing methods differ from Earth. Smoke detectors throughout the station alert the crew to potential fires. Portable fire extinguishers contain CO2 or water mist. The crew trains extensively on fire response procedures. If a fire is detected, they shut down ventilation in the affected module, don protective masks, locate the fire, and extinguish it. Fortunately, serious fires have been rare on the ISS. Waste management handles solid waste from crew members. Toilets aboard the station use airflow to direct waste into collection bags, since gravity can't pull waste downward. The toilet in the Russian segment has been notoriously difficult to use and has experienced multiple malfunctions. The American segment received an upgraded toilet in 2020, featuring improved design and easier operation. Waste is sealed in bags, stored temporarily in the station, and eventually loaded into cargo ships for disposal. When these ships deorbit and burn up in the atmosphere, the waste is incinerated. Trace contaminant control removes harmful gases and particulates from the air. Electronics, plastics, and other materials can off-gas volatile organic compounds. These accumulate in the closed environment and must be removed. Activated charcoal filters absorb many contaminants. A catalytic oxidizer breaks down others into carbon dioxide and water. Regular filter changes and monitoring maintain air quality. Ventilation prevents pockets of stagnant air. On Earth, breathing creates convection, with warm CO2-rich air rising and being replaced by cooler fresh air. In microgravity, there's no convection. Without ventilation, an astronaut could create a bubble of exhaled CO2 around their head, potentially causing hypoxia. Fans throughout the station ensure air movement, maintaining breathable atmosphere everywhere. The life support systems represent decades of engineering effort and operational experience. Early spacecraft used simple systems, often relying on expendable supplies. The ISS demonstrates that humans can live for months or years in space with highly efficient recycling systems. The lessons learned inform designs for future spacecraft and habitats. When astronauts eventually travel to Mars, their life support will be based heavily on technologies proven aboard the ISS. Stay in strong, exercise, health, and medical care. The human body evolved under Earth's gravity. Bones developed to support body weight against gravitational pull. Muscles adapted to move mass through a gravity field. The cardiovascular system learned to pump blood upward against resistance. When gravity suddenly disappears, these systems begin to weaken. Without countermeasures, astronauts would return to Earth unable to stand or walk. Bone loss occurs at an alarming rate in microgravity. On Earth, bones constantly remodel themselves, breaking down old tissue and building new in response to mechanical stress. Weight-bearing activity stimulates bone formation. In space without gravitational loading, the balance appears to shift toward breakdown. Based on measurements from long-duration missions, astronauts can lose 1 to 2% of bone mass per month, primarily from weight-bearing bones like the spine, hips, and legs. After 6 months in space, total bone loss can reach 10% or more in some skeletal regions. That same loss might take years or decades to occur naturally from aging on Earth. The lost bone doesn't simply disappear. calcium from broken down bone enters the bloodstream and is excreted in urine. High calcium levels can increase kidney stone risk. The bones become more porous and fragile, similar to osteoporosis. If not addressed, these changes would leave returning astronauts at high risk for fractures. Some bone loss is permanent. Even with extensive post-flight rehabilitation, it can take 3 to 4 years to recover the lost mass, and some astronauts never fully regain their pre-flight bone density. Muscle atrophy happens for similar reasons. Muscles don't need to work against gravity to maintain posture or move the body. The anti-gravity muscles, those in the back, legs, and core, experience the greatest loss. Within weeks, muscles begin shrinking. Strength and endurance decline. After months in space, muscle mass can drop 20% or more, and strength can decrease by similar amounts. This affects not only skeletal muscle, but also smooth muscle in blood vessels and the heart itself. Cardiovascular deconditioning results from reduced demand on the heart. On Earth, the heart works constantly to pump blood upward from the legs to the brain, fighting gravity. In microgravity, blood distributes more evenly. The heart doesn't need to work as hard. Over time, the heart can lose mass and efficiency. Blood volume decreases because the body senses it has more fluid than needed. When astronauts return to Earth, they experience orthostatic intolerance, dizziness, and lightheadedness when standing because the deconditioned cardiovascular system struggles to pump blood against gravity again. Exercise is the primary countermeasure against these problems. Every crew member exercises approximately 2 hours per day, 6 days per week. This might sound excessive, but it's necessary to maintain health. Even with this intensive regimen, most astronauts experience some bone and muscle loss. The goal is to minimize degradation to levels that allow rapid recovery after returning to Earth. The Advanced Resistive Exercise device simulates free weights through vacuum cylinders, providing resistance. The device anchors to the station's floor with a bar and cable system, allowing exercises like squats, deadlifts, bench presses, heel raises, and upright rows. Astronauts position themselves and perform repetitions against resistance, loading their bones and working their muscles, much as they would in a gym on Earth. Some crew members can lift the machine's maximum resistance of 600 pounds, demonstrating that strength maintenance is possible in space. The machine sits on a sophisticated vibration isolation system. When an astronaut performs a squat with hundreds of pounds of resistance, the forces could shake the entire station, disturbing sensitive experiments and creating noise. The isolation system uses springs, dampers, and active control to absorb these forces, preventing them from transmitting to the rest of the structure. The treadmill, too, enables running in microgravity. Without gravity pulling the runner down, a harness connected to bungee cords provides the necessary loading. The cords pull the astronaut toward the treadmill, simulating body weight. Tension can be adjusted to replicate different percentages of Earth weight. Running generates impact, forces that stimulate bone formation, particularly in the legs and hips. The treadmill surface is specially designed to withstand these impacts without breaking. Like AirED, the treadmill sits on a vibration isolation system to prevent the rhythmic impacts from shaking the station. The cycle ergometer provides cardiovascular conditioning without the high impact of running. Astronauts pedal against adjustable resistance, maintaining target heart rates for aerobic training. The ergometer is also used for fitness assessments, measuring maximum oxygen uptake and other cardiovascular parameters. This data tracks changes over time and helps evaluate exercise effectiveness. Despite having these excellent devices, astronauts still experience degradation. Early research found that even with 10 hours of exercise per week, bone loss and muscle atrophy continued. Scientists have worked to understand why exercise isn't fully protective and how to improve outcomes. One factor is exercise intensity and type. Early protocols emphasized long duration, moderate intensity exercise, hours on the treadmill at low speeds, resistance exercises with many repetitions at low loads. These approaches worked reasonably well for cardiovascular fitness, but didn't effectively prevent bone and muscle loss. More recent protocols incorporate higher intensity work, shorter, more intense running sessions, heavier resistance, loads with fewer repetitions. Studies comparing approaches found similar outcomes with less time required, making high-intensity protocols more efficient. Pre-flight conditioning matters significantly. Astronauts who arrive in excellent physical shape experience less degradation and recover faster after landing. This has led to increased emphasis on pre-mission training. Months before launch, astronauts follow intensive fitness programs, building strength, endurance, and bone density. They're essentially preconditioning their bodies to better withstand the spaceflight environment. Nutrition plays a crucial role. Adequate protein intake supports muscle maintenance. Calcium and vitamin D support bone health. Sufficient caloric intake prevents energy deficits that would exacerbate loss. Astronauts often struggle to eat enough in space. Food is less appetizing. Portions are carefully controlled. Some crew members lose weight, particularly early in missions. Ensuring adequate nutrition remains an ongoing challenge. Pharmacological interventions are being tested. Drugs that inhibit bone breakdown show promise. Myostatin inhibitors that promote muscle growth are under study. Bisphosphonates, medications used to treat osteoporosis on Earth, may, based on early research, help astronauts maintain bone density. These approaches could supplement exercise, providing additional protection. Rodent research on the ISS has tested some of these drugs with encouraging results. Human trials may follow. Medical monitoring tracks crew health throughout missions. Before launch, astronauts undergo comprehensive physical examinations, establishing baseline health status. Periodically during flight, they participate in medical assessments. Blood samples are collected and either analyzed aboard the station or returned to Earth for detailed testing. Ultrasound examinations visualize internal organs, blood vessels, and tissues. Cardiovascular function is monitored through electrocardiograms and blood pressure measurements. Vision tests check for the optic disc swelling and refractive changes that affect many astronauts. Cognitive tests ensure mental performance remains sharp. The station has basic medical capabilities. A medical kit contains medications for treating common ailments, pain relievers, antibiotics, anti-nausea drugs, sleep aids, and medications for cardiovascular or gastrointestinal issues. A dental kit handles minor dental problems. Equipment for minor procedures like suturing or IV placement is available. The ultrasound system allows remote medical diagnosis, with crew members performing scans under guidance from physicians on the ground. Serious medical emergencies would be challenging. There's no physician aboard the station. Crew members receive medical training and can handle many situations, but complex procedures would be difficult or impossible. If a crew member became critically ill or injured, the options would be limited. They could return to Earth on a Soyuz spacecraft, but the capsule takes several hours to return, and the descent is rough. Ground medical teams would meet the crew at landing, but that still leaves hours when advanced care isn't available. Fortunately, serious medical problems have been rare. Minor illnesses occur: colds, headaches, minor injuries. These are treated with over-the-counter medications or rest. The screening process before missions reduces risks by ensuring astronauts are in excellent health, but the possibility of emergency remains, and protocols exist for various contingencies. Radiation exposure is an ongoing concern. Earth's magnetic field and atmosphere shield us from most cosmic radiation. The ISS orbits below the strongest radiation belts, but still receives higher doses than at sea level. Crew members are exposed to galactic cosmic rays and solar particle events. Over time, this exposure increases cancer risk and could cause other health problems. Monitoring involves dosimeters worn by each crew member. These devices track cumulative radiation dose. If exposure approaches safety limits, mission duration might be shortened. During solar particle events, bursts of radiation from the sun, the crew takes shelter in more heavily shielded areas of the station, usually the Russian modules, which have more material between them and space. Future missions beyond Earth's protective magnetosphere will face much higher radiation exposure, requiring better shielding or faster travel times. Psychological health is as important as physical health. Isolation, confinement, workload stress, separation from family, and living in close quarters with a small group of people can take emotional tolls. NASA and partner agencies screen for psychological resilience and provide support systems. Crew members can schedule confidential sessions with psychologists on the ground. They maintain regular contact with family. They have personal time and privacy. Mission planners try to balance workload to avoid overwhelming the crew. Team dynamics matter tremendously. Crew members are chosen not just for technical skills, but for their ability to work well with others. They train together for months before launch, building relationships and learning each other's strengths and communication styles. Once aboard the station, they depend on each other constantly. Good teamwork makes missions successful. Conflict or poor communication can cause problems. Most crews gel well, forming close bonds. Many astronauts describe their crewmates as family, developing friendships that last long after returning to Earth. The research conducted on astronaut health directly benefits people on Earth. Understanding bone loss mechanisms informs osteoporosis treatment. Exercise protocols developed for space could, researchers suggest, help bedridden patients or elderly individuals maintain strength. Cardiovascular monitoring techniques have applications in remote medicine. The ISS serves as a unique laboratory for studying human health, with findings reaching far beyond space exploration. Meals in microgravity, food and nutrition. Food in space has come a long way. Since the early days of spaceflight, Yuri Gagarin, the first human in space, squeezed beef and liver paste from aluminum tubes. Early American astronauts ate freeze-dried cubes and paste from tubes. The food was nutritious but unappetizing. Today's astronauts enjoy a much more varied and palatable menu, though eating in microgravity still presents unique challenges. The International Space Station is equipped with food preparation facilities in both the Russian and American segments. The Russian segment has a galley in Zvezda, featuring a hot water dispenser for rehydrating food, a refrigerator for storing fresh items delivered by cargo ships, and a food warmer for heating meal packages. The American segment has similar capabilities in the Unity module, including a water dispenser and food warmers. Most food arrives in pre-packaged form designed for long shelf life. Freeze-dried foods have had water removed, making them lightweight and preventing spoilage. Packages range from entrees like scrambled eggs, chicken teriyaki, and beef tips to sides like rice, vegetables, and fruit. To prepare these items, astronauts inject a measured amount of hot or cold water through a special port using a water gun. The water rehydrates the food over several minutes. Once ready, they cut open the package and eat directly from it using a spoon or fork. Thermostabilized foods have been heat-treated and sealed in foil pouches, similar to military MRE rations, or retort pouches used for shelf-stable foods on Earth. These meals don't require rehydration, just heating if desired. The pouches contain items like tuna, chicken, pudding, and fruit. They're warmed in the station's food warmers and eaten directly from the package. Intermediate moisture foods are ready to eat without preparation. These include items like dried fruit, brownies, cookies, nuts, and granola bars. They provide quick snacks or meal components without any work. Fresh foods are occasionally delivered by cargo ships. Apples, oranges, grapefruit, tomatoes, carrots, and other produce arrive on resupply missions. These items don't last long in storage, but provide welcome variety and a taste of home. Crew members savor fresh fruit during the days and weeks following a delivery. The psychological value of biting into a crisp apple or juicy orange is significant, offering a momentary escape from packaged meals. Condiments are available to add flavor. Salt and pepper come in liquid form, rather than granules, which would float away and potentially clog equipment or be inhaled. Ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, hot sauce, soy sauce, and other flavorings are packaged in squeeze tubes or pouches. Hot sauce is particularly popular because food tastes bland in space. The taste change results from fluid shift. In microgravity, fluids don't drain downward from the head as they do on Earth. Blood and other fluids accumulate in the upper body and head, creating a sensation like having a stuffy nose or a head cold. This congestion dulls the sense of taste and smell, making food seem less flavorful. Astronauts often crave spicy or strongly flavored foods that they wouldn't normally eat on Earth. Many crew members request extra hot sauce and other spicy condiments. As one astronaut put it, aboard the ISS, the motto was, "It's all about the sauce." Tortillas have become a staple aboard the station. Regular bread creates crumbs that float through the air, potentially getting into electronics, air, filters, or astronauts' eyes and noses. Tortillas don't crumble, making them ideal for sandwiches and wraps. Astronauts use tortillas for breakfast burritos, lunch wraps, peanut butter and honey sandwiches, and even burgers. The tortillas are specially formulated for extended shelf life and packaged to maintain freshness. Each astronaut selects their menu before launch from a list of approved foods. The selection process happens months in advance during training. Astronauts visit NASA's food laboratory at Johnson Space Center in Houston to taste test items and plan their menus. They choose foods they enjoy and will want to eat during their mission. The menu is designed to repeat every 8 days, providing variety while balancing nutrition. Nutrition requirements are carefully calculated based on each astronaut's age, sex, body weight, and activity level. A typical male astronaut requires around 2,500 to 3,200 calories per day. Female astronauts need roughly 1,900 to 2,400 calories. Requirements increase during spacewalks, which burn significant energy. The menu must provide adequate protein, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals. Dietitians review each crew member's selections to ensure nutritional adequacy. Different nations contribute foods representing their cultures. Russian cosmonauts bring traditional items like borscht, goulash, and canned fish. European astronauts provide meals from their home countries: Italian pasta, French cuisine, German specialties. Japanese astronauts bring ramen noodles, rice dishes, and curry. American astronauts contribute items ranging from breakfast cereals to barbecue. This variety allows crew members to share their cultures and makes the dining experience more interesting. Some countries develop special bonus food packages for their astronauts. These contain culturally significant or personally requested items. When Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield flew, he brought maple syrup cookies and chocolate. French astronaut Thomas Pesquet had 13 specially prepared dishes created by French chefs. Italian astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti even had an espresso maker sent to the station, allowing her to enjoy proper coffee rather than instant. Preparation and eating take different approaches in microgravity. Food packages are secured to the table with Velcro to prevent them from floating away. Crew members may wedge themselves into corners or strap their feet into foot loops to maintain position while eating. Utensils have magnetic strips or are tethered to prevent loss. Liquids must be carefully managed because they can form floating globs. Beverages come in pouches with straws. The straw clamps when not in use to prevent liquid from escaping. Crew members describe drinking as similar to using a juice box. Mealtimes serve important social functions. The crew often gathers for dinner in Zvezda or Unity, floating around a table and sharing food and conversation. These communal meals build camaraderie and provide structure to the day. They're moments of relaxation and connection, breaking up the work routine. Crew members trade foods, sharing their national dishes with each other. Special occasions are celebrated with special meals. Holidays like Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's feature traditional foods as much as possible. Birthdays are acknowledged with cakes or treats. These celebrations maintain morale and create positive memories. Food safety requires strict protocols. Packaging must prevent contamination and maintain freshness for months. Each food package has an expiration date marked with a sticker. Crew members check dates before eating and discard expired items. Occasionally, spoiled food has been found, reminding everyone that even carefully preserved items can fail. Proper hygiene during food handling is essential. Crew members clean their hands with wipes before eating. Waste disposal involves sealing empty food packages and placing them in waste containers. These are eventually transferred to cargo ships for disposal when the ships deorbit. Cleaning after meals uses wet wipes to remove food residue from trays, utensils, and surfaces. Water is too valuable to waste on washing dishes. Everything is wiped down and reused. Some astronauts lose weight during missions, particularly in the first weeks. Appetite may decrease. Food is less appealing. Work schedule pressure might limit mealtime. Ensuring crew members maintain healthy weight requires monitoring and sometimes encouragement to eat more. Other astronauts maintain or even gain weight, depending on individual metabolism and eating habits. Future missions to Mars or the Moon will require improved food systems. Missions lasting years cannot rely on prepackaged foods alone. Research is underway on growing fresh vegetables and other crops in space. The Veggie Plant Growth System has successfully produced lettuce, radishes, and other greens aboard the ISS. Crew members have eaten space-grown salads, enjoying the fresh produce. Expanding this capability to provide significant portions of crew diet remains challenging, but is an active area of research. Food on the ISS demonstrates that humans can maintain adequate nutrition in space for extended periods. The variety, quality, and cultural significance of meals contribute to physical health and psychological well-being. As spaceflight extends to longer durations and more distant destinations, food systems will continue evolving, but the lessons learned aboard the ISS provide a strong foundation. Rest among the stars, sleep, and personal time. Sleep in space requires adaptation. The body's circadian rhythms evolved to follow Earth's 24-hour cycle of light and dark. The ISS experiences 16 sunrises and sunsets each day, disrupting these natural patterns. Sunlight streams through windows every 45 minutes as the station passes from darkness into daylight. Even with window shades closed, light seeps through. The station is never truly dark. Noise is another challenge. Fans run constantly, circulating air throughout the modules. Equipment generates humming, clicking, and whirring sounds. Experiments may operate continuously. Pumps start and stop. Air conditioning systems whoosh. The Russian segment is generally noisier than the American segment, with older equipment and less sound insulation. The constant background noise can make falling asleep difficult. Each crew member has a private sleeping quarters, a small compartment roughly the size of a phone booth. These quarters provide the only true privacy aboard the station. The space is just large enough for a sleeping bag attached to the wall, a laptop computer, some personal items, and perhaps a few photos or mementos from home. A curtain or door provides privacy and blocks light. The sleeping bag is essential. Without it, an astronaut would float freely, potentially bumping into walls or equipment. The bag is attached to the wall, holding the sleeping person in a fixed location. Some astronauts describe the sensation as incredibly comfortable, like floating on a cloud. Others find it strange and uncomfortable, missing the pressure of a mattress pushing back against the body. Most adapt within days or weeks. Sleeping position is a matter of preference. Some astronauts sleep curled in a fetal position, wedged into a corner for a feeling of security. Others stretch out fully, arms floating weightlessly. A few prefer to sleep with their arms inside the sleeping bag to prevent them from floating up and hitting their face. The body's neutral position in microgravity is a relaxed posture with arms and legs slightly bent, not the straight position one might assume. Sleeping in this natural position feels most comfortable to many astronauts. Temperature regulation can be tricky. Without convection, warm air tends to accumulate around the body, potentially causing overheating. The sleeping quarters are positioned near ventilation fans to ensure air circulation. Some astronauts prefer warmer sleeping bags, while others like cooler conditions. Personal preference varies widely. Sleep masks and earplugs are standard equipment. The mask blocks light, especially important when the station passes through the sunlit portion of orbit every 45 minutes. Earplugs, or noise-canceling headphones, dampen the constant background sounds. Even with these aids, sleep quality can suffer compared to Earth. Studies show many astronauts average only 6 hours of sleep per night, despite being scheduled for 8 hours. Sleep difficulties are common. Some crew members report trouble falling asleep, waking frequently during the night, or feeling unrested in the morning. The causes are multifaceted: noise, light, physical discomfort, excitement of being in space, work stress, and the disrupted day-night cycle all contribute. Some astronauts use sleep medications occasionally, though NASA prefers non-pharmaceutical approaches when possible. The station maintains a day-night cycle based on UTC despite the rapid orbital cycles. Lighting is adjusted to mimic daylight and darkness. Bright lights during the workday help maintain alertness. Dimmer lights in the evening and during sleep periods encourage rest. The lighting schedule aligns with the crew's work and sleep times, providing environmental cues, even though the sun outside follows a different rhythm. Personal time is precious. After the official workday ends and before sleep, crew members have roughly 3 hours to themselves. This time allows decompression, relaxation, and pursuing personal interests. Astronauts use personal time in various ways, depending on their preferences and needs. Communication with family is a top priority for many. Email access allows sending messages to loved ones. Video calls are scheduled regularly, providing face-to-face connection across the distance. These calls are cherished, allowing crew members to see their children grow, celebrate birthdays, offer advice, and simply talk about daily life. The psychological importance of family contact cannot be overstated. Many astronauts cite family communication as essential for mental health during long missions. Reading is a popular pastime. Some crew members bring physical books, though space and weight constraints limit how many. Electronic readers have largely replaced physical books, providing access to thousands of titles without mass penalty. Astronauts read novels, nonfiction, technical materials, and news. Some maintain book clubs with crew members or people on Earth, reading the same books and discussing them. Reading provides mental stimulation and escape, transporting the reader to different places and times. Movies and television shows offer entertainment. Crew members have tablets or laptops with digital libraries. Some watch recent films. Others rewatch favorite shows or movies from home. NASA occasionally sends up new content. On cargo flights, watching a good film provides distraction and relaxation after a long workday. Music is important to many astronauts. Some bring musical instruments, guitars, keyboards, flutes, harmonicas. Playing music provides creative expression and emotional release. Several astronauts have performed concerts from space, broadcasting live performances to audiences on Earth. Others simply listen to music using headphones, enjoying their favorite artists and songs. Music connects to emotions and memories, providing comfort far from home. Photography through the station's windows occupies countless hours. The view is endlessly fascinating. Astronauts capture sunrises, sunsets, storms, cities at night, aurora, oceans, mountains, deserts, and more. Some become highly skilled photographers, producing stunning images that are shared with the public through social media and publications. Photography serves multiple purposes: artistic expression, scientific documentation, public outreach, and personal enjoyment. Some crew members simply float near a window and gaze at Earth. These meditative moments provide perspective and peace, watching continents slip past, seeing the curvature of the planet, witnessing the thin blue line of atmosphere. These experiences are deeply moving. Many astronauts describe profound emotional and philosophical responses to viewing Earth from space. The overview effect changes how one thinks about humanity, borders, conflicts, and our shared home. Quiet time looking out the window allows processing these thoughts and feelings. Exercise can occur during personal time for those who prefer it. While 2 hours of daily exercise is mandatory, the timing is flexible. Some astronauts complete their workout during the duty day. Others exercise in the evening as part of their personal routine. Working out provides physical and mental benefits, releasing stress and maintaining health. Hobbies and projects offer creative outlets. Some astronauts pursue art, painting, or drawing in microgravity. Others engage in crafts or writing. Some conduct personal science experiments, testing ideas or demonstrating phenomena for educational videos. The ability to pursue individual interests makes the experience more personal and meaningful. Social interaction with crewmates happens during personal time as well. Crew members might gather to watch a movie together, play games, or simply chat. These informal interactions build relationships and camaraderie. The crew often becomes close, supporting each other through the challenges of spaceflight. Many form lifelong friendships. Amateur radio operation is popular among some astronauts. The station carries ham radio equipment, allowing contact with amateur radio operators on Earth. Crew members make hundreds or thousands of contacts during missions, speaking with people around the world. These spontaneous conversations provide connection to humanity and often include talking with children at schools, inspiring the next generation. Weekends provide extended personal time. Saturdays and Sundays have minimal scheduled work activities, focusing on basic housekeeping and exercise. The rest of the time is free. Long missions can become mentally taxing, and this downtime is essential for psychological health. Crew members rest, pursue hobbies, communicate with family, and generally decompress from the work week. Sleep and personal time might seem like minor aspects of space station operations, but they're critical for mission success. Well-rested, mentally healthy crew members perform better, make fewer mistakes, and work more effectively as a team. The lessons learned about managing crew well-being on the ISS inform planning for future missions, particularly to Mars, where the journey will take months or years with no possibility of early return. Lifeline to home, communications and Earth connection. Staying connected to Earth is essential for international space, station operations, and crew well-being. Multiple communication systems link the station to ground control centers, researchers, family members, and the public. These systems enable continuous monitoring, command transmission, voice and video calls, data transfer, and public outreach. The primary communication system uses relay satellites in the tracking and data relay satellite system. TDRS satellites in geostationary orbit provide near-continuous coverage of the ISS. The station's communications antennas transmit data to TDRS satellites, which relay signals to ground stations in New Mexico. From there, data travels through fiber optic networks to control centers, research facilities, and other destinations. This system handles the bulk of ISS communications, providing high-bandwidth data links for commanding the station, receiving telemetry, and supporting video conferences. Voice communication allows crew members to speak directly with mission control in Houston, Moscow, and other control centers. The space-to-ground loops carry conversations between astronauts and flight controllers, engineers, and managers. These discussions coordinate activities, solve problems, and make decisions. Multiple channels allow different conversations to occur simultaneously. One crew member might speak with a robotics team, while another discusses a science experiment with researchers. Video conferences enable face-to-face communication. High-definition cameras aboard the station allow video calls with mission control, researchers, family members, journalists, students, and dignitaries. Video is essential for demonstrating procedures, inspecting hardware, conducting interviews, and maintaining personal connections. Crew members schedule regular video calls with family, seeing their children, spouses, and parents. These calls are deeply important, maintaining relationships across the distance and time of spaceflight. Email provides asynchronous communication. Crew members send and receive emails throughout the day. They correspond with ground teams about technical issues, with researchers about experiments, with flight planners about schedules, and with family and friends about personal matters. Email allows thoughtful, detailed communication without requiring real-time connection. Many astronauts are prolific emailers, staying in close touch with large networks of colleagues and loved ones. Internet access has been available since 2010, though bandwidth is limited compared to terrestrial connections. Crew members can browse websites, check news, post on social media, and access online resources. The internet connection goes through the same TDRS satellite system as other communications. Some astronauts maintain active social media presence, tweeting photos, posting updates, and interacting with followers. This public outreach inspires millions and shares the spaceflight experience with people worldwide. The ability to post images and videos has been particularly impactful. Astronauts share stunning photographs of Earth, videos of daily life in microgravity, demonstrations of science experiments, and thoughts on the experience of spaceflight. Some astronauts have built huge social media followings, with posts reaching millions of people. This engagement educates the public, builds support for space exploration, and makes space feel accessible rather than distant and abstract. Amateur radio provides an alternative communication method. Ham radio equipment aboard the ISS allows contact with licensed amateur radio operators on Earth. Crew members make contacts during personal time, speaking with operators around the world. Many contacts involve school groups, with astronauts answering students' questions about space. These interactions inspire young people and demonstrate that humans are really up there in space, not just characters in movies or textbooks. Communication is not instantaneous, despite the station's proximity to Earth. Signals take a few milliseconds to travel to TDRS satellites and back to ground stations, creating barely noticeable delay. This short lag is nothing compared to missions farther from Earth. Communication with Mars involves delays of several minutes each way as signals travel across tens of millions of miles. The ISS demonstrates that near real-time communication is possible in low Earth orbit, a luxury that deep space explorers won't have. Ground control operates 24 hours a day, every day of the year. Mission control centers in Houston and Moscow, staff multiple consoles, each monitoring specific systems. Flight controllers watch telemetry data streaming down from the station, ensuring systems operate correctly. They identify anomalies, diagnose problems, and coordinate responses. When issues arise, ground teams work with the crew to implement solutions. This constant monitoring and support enables safe, effective operations. Research teams around the world also maintain contact with the crew regarding experiments. Scientists provide instructions for conducting procedures, collecting data, or troubleshooting equipment. Crew members send experiment results back to researchers for analysis. This collaboration between space and ground makes ISS research possible. The crew handles hands-on work, while researchers provide expertise and guidance. Flight planners coordinate the crew's daily schedule. Every activity is planned in detail: when to wake up, when to exercise, when to work on experiments, when to maintain equipment, when to sleep. The schedule balances crew time allocation, equipment availability, communication windows, orbital lighting conditions, and numerous other factors. The crew receives their schedule electronically, viewing it on laptops or tablets. Changes happen frequently as situations evolve, requiring flexibility and communication between crew and ground. Training continues even during missions. Ground teams provide briefings on new procedures, arriving equipment, or planned activities. Crew members review technical documents, watch instructional videos, and participate in training sessions via video conference. This ongoing training ensures crew members remain proficient and prepared for whatever comes. Psychological support is available through private medical conferences. Crew members can schedule confidential video calls with flight surgeons and psychologists. These sessions allow discussion of health concerns, stress, interpersonal issues, or other sensitive topics. The privacy of these communications is protected, encouraging crew members to seek help if needed. Mental health is recognized as critical to mission success, and support structures are in place. Emergency communication procedures exist for serious situations. If the station experiences critical failures requiring rapid decisions, priority communication channels enable fast coordination between crew and ground. Exercises periodically practice these procedures to ensure readiness. Fortunately, true emergencies requiring emergency communications have been rare. Time zone differences complicate communications. Houston is 6 hours behind. UTC, Moscow, is 3 hours ahead. Japan is 9 hours ahead. Control centers in different time zones have to coordinate handovers and ensure continuous coverage. The crew works on a UTC-based schedule, providing a common reference. Despite challenges, the international collaboration generally works smoothly, with decades of practice refining procedures. Communication systems require maintenance, like everything aboard the station. Antennas, transmitters, receivers, modems, computers, and cabling all need periodic inspection and occasional repair. Upgrades improve bandwidth and reliability. New systems are installed to enhance capabilities. Ensuring robust communications receives high priority because isolation would be dangerous and demoralizing. The connection to Earth provides more than operational support. It provides psychological lifeline, reminding crew members they're not alone, that billions of people share their planet, that friends and family are down there thinking of them. The ability to see loved ones, read news from home, share experiences with the public, and maintain relationships makes long-duration spaceflight tolerable. Future missions to Mars will face communication delays of up to 22 minutes each way at maximum distance. Crews will need to function more independently, making decisions without real-time guidance. The ISS demonstrates both the benefits of close communication and the need to prepare for situations where it's not possible. Keeping the dream alive, maintenance, and spacewalks. The International Space Station is a machine that requires constant upkeep. Like a house, car, or any complex system, it needs regular maintenance to function properly. Unlike systems on Earth, the station operates in an environment constantly threatening its integrity. Extreme temperatures, vacuum, radiation, micrometeoroids, and atomic oxygen gradually degrade materials. Maintaining the station involves routine tasks performed inside and occasional dramatic extravehicular activities outside. Inside maintenance occupies significant crew time. Every week brings scheduled tasks. Air filters accumulate dust, lint, and particulates, and must be replaced or cleaned. Vacuum cleaners with special attachments clean surfaces and vent grills. Water processors require filter changes and system checks. Exercise equipment needs lubrication and adjustment. Computers receive software updates. Experiments are installed, operated, and removed. Cargo ships arrive and must be unloaded, their contents inventoried and stored. Trash accumulates and must be bagged and stowed for later disposal. Some maintenance is preventive. Systems are inspected regularly to identify potential problems before failure. Fasteners are checked for looseness. Seals are examined for cracks. Electrical connections are tested. Mechanical components are cycled to ensure they still operate. This preventive work catches issues early when repairs are simple rather than waiting for catastrophic failures. Other maintenance is corrective. Equipment breaks, computers crash, pumps fail, fans stop. Experiments malfunction. When problems occur, the crew troubleshoots to identify the cause, then implements repairs. Sometimes this involves replacing components. Spare parts are stored aboard the station for common failures. Crew members remove faulty units and install replacements, returning the broken parts to Earth for analysis and potential refurbishment. Some repairs require creativity. When something breaks and no spare part is available, the crew must improvise. They might fabricate a bracket using materials on hand. They might bypass a failed component. They might develop a workaround, allowing a system to function despite damage. Astronauts receive extensive training in troubleshooting and repair, preparing them to solve unexpected problems far from Earth. Major repairs or installations require extravehicular activity, spacewalks. Since the ISS began assembly in 1998, over 270 spacewalks have been conducted to build and maintain the station, totaling more than 1,700 hours of work in the vacuum of space. These EVAs represent some of the most challenging and dangerous activities astronauts perform. Preparing for a spacewalk takes days. The crew reviews procedures, studying every task in detail. They gather tools and equipment needed for the work. they prepare spacesuits, checking systems, recharging batteries, refilling oxygen tanks, and ensuring everything functions perfectly. The night before the spacewalk, the crew members who will go outside sleep in the airlock at reduced pressure, pre-bar breathing pure oxygen to purge nitrogen from their bloodstream. This prevents decompression sickness, also called the bends, which can occur when pressure drops rapidly. On spacewalk day, preparation begins early. The crew members going outside, typically two, don their liquid cooling garments, thin layers with tubes carrying chilled water to remove body heat. They check communication systems. They enter their spacesuits, which are effectively miniature spacecraft, providing life support and protection. American extravehicular mobility units provide pressurized atmosphere at 4.3 pounds per square inch, much lower than the station's 14.7 psi, but adequate for breathing. Russian Orlan suits use similar pressure. The suits have complex systems: oxygen supply, CO2 removal, temperature control, communication, and warning systems. Once suited, the crew enters the airlock. The Quest airlock has two sections. The equipment lock remains at station pressure and stores suits and tools. The crew lock depressurizes before the spacewalk. The outer hatch opens only when pressure inside equals the vacuum outside, essentially zero. Opening, the hatch exposes the crew to space, temperatures ranging from 250 degrees Fahrenheit in sunlight to minus 250 degrees in shadow, hard radiation, and the vacuum that would boil their blood and expand their lungs until bursting without the suit's protection. Tethered to the station, the crew members float outside and begin work. The view is spectacular but also disorienting. Earth fills the view below, appearing vastly larger than from inside the station. The black void of space surrounds them. The station's structure provides reference, but working on the exterior requires three-dimensional thinking. Handrails are installed on every surface, providing attachment points. Astronauts clip their tethers to these rails as they move, ensuring they remain connected even if they lose their grip. Tasks during spacewalks vary. Sometimes the crew installs new equipment, solar arrays, antennas, or experiment platforms. Sometimes they remove failed components for return to Earth and replacement. Sometimes they perform repairs, replacing worn parts or fixing damaged systems. Sometimes they conduct inspections, examining structure and equipment for damage or degradation. Each task follows detailed procedures developed and practiced on Earth. The work is physically demanding despite weightlessness. Moving in a pressurized suit requires significant strength. The suit's joints resist bending. Simple tasks like turning a bolt become exhausting. Gloves limit dexterity, making fine manipulation difficult. Astronauts train for years in NASA's Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory, a massive pool containing underwater mock-ups of ISS components. Underwater, wearing weighted spacesuits, astronauts practice every spacewalk procedure repeatedly until movements become automatic. Despite this training, real spacewalks are harder and more tiring. Communication during spacewalks involves radio links to both mission control and the crew inside the station. Flight controllers provide guidance, walking the spacewalkers through procedures and troubleshooting problems. The internal crew monitors from the cupola, providing visual observations and operating robotic arms to assist. Video cameras on the suits and mounted on the station stream footage to ground teams, allowing engineers to see what the crew sees. Hazards exist. Micrometeoroid strikes could puncture a suit, though the risk is small. Overheating or cooling malfunctions could cause physical stress. Decompression sickness might occur despite precautions. Water intrusion into the helmet has happened on several occasions, creating dangerous situations where the spacewalker could drown. Each hazard has procedures and backup systems, but risks remain. The crew accepts these risks as part of the job. Spacewalks typically last 6 to 8 hours, though some have extended longer when tasks took more time than planned. The crew works methodically, taking breaks to rest and drink water from tubes inside their helmets. As the scheduled end time approaches, they complete final tasks, gather tools, and return to the airlock. The hatch closes, pressure rises, and they re-enter the station, tired but usually satisfied with accomplishments. After the spacewalk, they remove the suits and stow equipment. They clean and inspect the suits, identifying any damage or degradation. They debrief with ground teams, discussing what worked well and what could improve. They rest, recovering from the physical exertion, and they begin planning for the next spacewalk, which might happen days or weeks later. Major spacewalk campaigns achieve significant milestones. The installation of new rollout solar arrays in 2021 through 2023 required multiple EVAs to unfold and attach the panels, significantly increasing the station's power generation. The replacement of aging batteries with newer lithium-ion units took years and dozens of spacewalks. The installation of the alpha magnetic spectrometer required careful handling of a delicate instrument worth billions of dollars. Each successful campaign demonstrates the crew's skill and the effectiveness of careful planning. Emergencies occasionally necessitate unplanned spacewalks. When critical equipment fails, rapid repair might be essential. The crew can execute contingency spacewalks within days if necessary, though preparation time is compressed and risks increase. Fortunately, most failures can be addressed with internal repairs or by using redundant systems until a planned spacewalk can fix the problem. Spacewalk capability is essential for the station's long-term viability. Without EVA, external repairs would be impossible. Critical systems would fail without replacement. The station would gradually degrade until it became uninhabitable. The hundreds of spacewalks conducted over more than 25 years have kept the ISS functional and capable. They represent extraordinary human achievement. Astronauts working in perhaps the most hostile environment imaginable to build and maintain humanity's outpost in space. Beyond tomorrow, the future of the ISS, the International Space Station, was never intended to operate indefinitely. Its structure, designed and built in the 1980s through early 2000s, has a finite lifespan. Primary structural elements, modules, trusses, radiators experience constant stress from thermal cycling, docking loads, and micrometeoroids. Materials fatigue, systems age, equipment becomes obsolete. NASA and international partners have committed to operating the station through 2030, after 32 years of continuous human presence. What happens after represents both an ending and a beginning. The technical lifetime is determined primarily by structural integrity. Engineers constantly assess fatigue in critical components. The pressurized modules experience pressure cycles as spacecraft dock and temperatures fluctuate. The truss undergoes loads from docking vehicles, robotic arm operations, and momentum changes. Analysis suggests the structure can safely operate through 2030, possibly a few years beyond, but not indefinitely. Eventually, the risk of catastrophic failure would become unacceptable. System obsolescence also factors into the decision. Much of the hardware aboard the ISS dates to the station's construction. Computers that were cutting edge in the 1990s are now hopelessly outdated. Zvezda's original computers failed years ago, replaced by consumer laptop computers. Life support systems, while functional, incorporate technology from decades past. Newer, more efficient systems exist, but cannot easily be integrated into the station's legacy architecture. Building a new station allows incorporating modern technology from the start. The cost of operating the ISS is substantial. NASA spends roughly $3 billion per year maintaining and operating the station. This represents about a third of NASA's human spaceflight budget. Other partners contribute additional funds and resources. As the station ages, maintenance costs rise, more components fail, more repairs are needed. The efficiency of continuing to operate an aging facility versus investing in new infrastructure becomes questionable. Despite these realities, the end of the ISS doesn't mean abandoning low Earth orbit. NASA and international partners are planning a transition to commercially owned and operated space stations. Rather than NASA building and operating the facility, private companies will develop stations and offer services. NASA will become one of many customers purchasing access rather than owning the infrastructure. This model aims to reduce costs, stimulate commercial spaceflight industry, and free NASA resources for deep space exploration. In December 2021, NASA awarded contracts to 3 companies for initial space station designs. Blue Origin's orbital reef concept envisions a mixed-use station supporting research, manufacturing, and tourism. NanoRacks Starlab proposes a single large inflatable module providing laboratory space. Axiom Space's design includes multiple modules that will initially attach to the ISS before detaching to form an independent station. Additional companies, including Northrop Grumman and VAST, have since joined the program. The transition strategy calls for commercial stations to become operational before the ISS is deorbited, preventing gaps in orbital presence and capabilities. NASA issued a draft announcement in September 2025 for Phase 2 partnership proposals, requesting companies demonstrate stations supporting 4 people in orbit for at least 30 days. Selected companies will receive funding to advance their designs through critical design reviews and initial demonstrations. NASA will then certify these stations meet safety requirements and begin purchasing services. Challenges exist. Commercial stations must achieve operational status by 2030. A tight timeline, given the complexity of space station design, construction, and testing. Funding constraints may delay progress. Regulatory frameworks for commercial space stations are still being developed. International partners need agreements defining their participation in commercial facilities. The compressed schedule creates risk of capability gaps if transitions don't occur smoothly. What happens to the ISS itself? Several options have been considered. Disassembly and return to Earth would preserve the historic artifact, but is impractical. The station's modules weren't designed for return. Disassembly would require numerous spacewalks and missions. Transportation costs would be enormous. Even if returned, storing and displaying massive modules poses challenges. The preferred option is controlled deorbit. In a controlled deorbit, The station's altitude would be gradually lowered through propulsive maneuvers. Progress cargo ships and potentially other vehicles would dock and fire their engines, reducing orbital velocity. Atmospheric drag would increase as altitude decreased, accelerating the process. When ready for final deorbit, spacecraft would perform a final propulsive burn targeting a remote ocean area. The station would re-enter atmosphere, breaking apart and burning. Surviving debris would impact in the targeted area, likely a remote region of the South Pacific Ocean called Point Nemo, far from populated land and shipping lanes. NASA awarded SpaceX a contract in June 2024 to develop the U.S. deorbit vehicle, a specialized spacecraft designed to control the final descent. The vehicle would attach to the station, provide propulsion for the deorbit maneuver, and ensure the structure enters atmosphere on the planned trajectory. This controlled approach prevents uncontrolled re-entry that could endanger populated areas. The timing targets late 2030 or early 2031, though flexibility exists depending on technical factors and commercial station readiness. Final crew will depart weeks before the deorbit, leaving the station unpressurized and unpowered. The deorbit vehicle will guide the structure through its final descent, ending an era. What will be lost? The ISS represents unparalleled international cooperation, bringing together nations that were once adversaries in peaceful collaboration. No other project has achieved this level of sustained multinational partnership. Commercial stations will be more fragmentary, with companies serving different customers and nations. The spirit of cooperation and shared purpose embodied by the ISS may be difficult to replicate. The station also represents continuity, 25 uninterrupted years of human presence in space. This remarkable achievement demonstrates that humans can live and work off-planet indefinitely. Ending ISS operations could break this continuity if commercial stations aren't ready or if gaps occur. Scientific continuity also matters. Researchers worldwide have developed programs relying on ISS access. Investigations spanning years or decades might be interrupted. Transitioning to new facilities may not be seamless. Some research might not continue if commercial stations prioritize different activities. But what will be gained? Modern stations designed with current technology should be more capable and efficient. Inflatable modules like those proposed by several companies offer more volume per launch mass. Advanced life support systems reduce resupply needs. Better power systems provide more electricity. Improved communication enables higher data rates. Commercial stations could enable new activities, manufacturing in microgravity, space tourism, private research, expanding beyond what ISS primarily supported. Multiple stations could provide more capacity than the single ISS. Rather than one facility with limited space for crew and experiments, several stations could accommodate more people and research. Redundancy could improve reliability. If one station experiences problems, others continue operating. Competition among providers could drive innovation and reduce costs. The ISS's legacy will be profound, regardless of what replaces it. The technological achievement of building such a structure in space pushed engineering limits. The scientific discoveries made aboard have advanced knowledge across disciplines. The operational experience of safely keeping humans alive in space for decades has prepared humanity for deeper ventures. The inspiration provided to millions of people around the world has incalculable value. And perhaps most importantly, the ISS proved that spaceflight need not be a competition. Nations with different languages, cultures, and histories can work together peacefully toward common goals. Cosmonauts and astronauts who grew up during the Cold War lived and worked side by side, forming friendships and collaborating effectively despite tensions between their governments. This cooperation offers hope that humanity can overcome divisions and achieve great things together. As the ISS approaches its final years, opportunities remain to use the facility fully. Research programs are expanding, commercial activities are increasing, crew sizes might grow, new modules or equipment might attach. The station will continue serving its purpose, advancing science, developing technology, and maintaining human presence in space until the very end. When the ISS finally makes its controlled plunge into the Pacific, billions of people will watch, many with sadness and gratitude. The station has been a constant presence in the night sky for those who knew where and when to look. That blue-white point of light, brighter than any star, silently tracing its arc from horizon to horizon, will vanish. But what it represented, humanity's ambition, capability, and cooperation, will live on in whatever comes next, and in the memories of all who marveled at what we achieved together. We've journeyed tonight through every aspect of life aboard the International Space Station. We've explored its history, from Cold War competition to international cooperation. We've toured its modules and understood its structure. We've followed astronauts through their daily routines, experiencing the rhythm of life in orbit. We've examined the groundbreaking science conducted in microgravity. We've learned how life support systems keep crew members alive in the hostile environment of space. We've understood the challenges of maintaining health and fitness when gravity disappears. We've discovered what astronauts eat and how meals provide not just nutrition, but comfort and cultural connection. We've seen how sleep works in a place where day and night cycle every 90 minutes. We've appreciated the vital communication systems maintaining connection to Earth. We've witnessed the dramatic spacewalks required to maintain the station, and we've looked ahead to the station's eventual retirement and the commercial facilities that will follow. The International Space Station is more than a laboratory or a feat of engineering. It's a symbol of what humanity can accomplish when we set aside differences and work together toward common purpose. It's a home for astronauts who venture above the atmosphere to advance knowledge and prepare for deeper journeys. It's a viewpoint offering perspective on our shared planet and our place in the universe. It's a classroom inspiring students around the world to pursue science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It's a test bed where technologies and procedures for future missions are proven. It's a bridge connecting Earth to the cosmos. For 25 years and counting, humans have lived continuously in space. Think about that achievement. No matter what happens on Earth, wars, pandemics, natural disasters, political upheavals, astronauts have been up there, orbiting 16 times per day, conducting research, maintaining their spacecraft, exercising, eating, sleeping, and watching Earth turn below. That unbroken chain of human presence represents remarkable determination and success. The ISS has shown us that living in space is possible and, in many ways, surprisingly normal. Yes, floating takes getting used to. Yes, food tastes bland. Yes, sleeping requires adaptation. But fundamentally, life aboard the station resembles life on Earth. People work, rest, eat, exercise, communicate with loved ones and pursue hobbies. They form friendships and work as teams. They solve problems and celebrate successes. They experience homesickness and wonder. They're still human, just in an extraordinary environment. The scientific legacy is immense. Thousands of experiments have produced thousands of publications, advancing fields from medicine to materials, science to Earth observation. Treatments for diseases, agricultural techniques, water purification systems, manufacturing processes, and countless other practical applications have emerged from ISS research. The station has proven the value of microgravity research and the importance of human presence in conducting that research. While robotic spacecraft can do much, humans provide flexibility, judgment, and capability that no robot can match. The station has prepared us for what comes next. When astronauts return to the moon in the coming years, they'll use life support technologies tested on the ISS. When humans eventually journey to Mars, they'll follow exercise protocols refined aboard the station. When we establish permanent bases on other worlds, we'll apply lessons learned from over 2 decades of continuous ISS operations. Every challenge faced and overcome aboard the station has taught us something valuable about living and working in space. If you get the chance, find out when the ISS passes over your location. Go outside on a clear night when it's visible. Watch that bright point of light glide silently across the sky. Remember that inside that tiny moving dot, people are floating, working, and looking down at Earth. Remember that the structure represents decades of effort by thousands of engineers, scientists, astronauts, and support personnel from around the world. Remember that it embodies humanity's boldest aspirations and finest achievements. The International Space Station won't last forever. Its retirement is planned. But what it represents, our drive to explore, our ability to cooperate, our ingenuity in solving problems, and our determination to understand our universe, those things are timeless. The station is not the end of human spaceflight, but a beginning. It's the foundation upon which we'll build futures among the stars. Thank you for joining me on this comprehensive journey through life aboard the International Space Station. If you found this exploration valuable, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Your support helps me continue creating these deep dives into science, space, and the wonders of our universe. Until next time, whenever you see that bright light moving across the night sky, think of the humans living and working there, far above, yet connected to all of us below. Think of them conducting experiments that will improve life on Earth, maintaining their incredible spacecraft, exercising to stay healthy, eating meals from around the world, sleeping as Earth passes below, and looking out windows at our beautiful planet. The International Space Station is humanity's home in space, and everyone on Earth shares in its legacy. Sleep well tonight, knowing that right now, hundreds of miles above, astronauts are orbiting, watching over our planet, working to expand human knowledge, and demonstrating that no challenge is too great when we work together. The ISS is more than metal and modules. It's a dream made real, a vision brought to life through dedication and cooperation. And that achievement, that proof that humans can live and thrive beyond Earth, is perhaps the station's greatest gift to humanity. Good night, and may your dreams take you to the stars.